Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Bet the Over. In this episode, we're going to go over the top 5 candidates I think the Giants should look into or hire at the end of this season. So let's get right into it. The first candidate I think they should obviously look into or potentially hire is Joe Brady, um, coming over from Buffalo. I know Giants fans have a little bit of PTSD hiring an offensive coordinator from Buffalo. As we all know, Brian Dable came from over there. However, I do think Joe Brady is a really good potential candidate because he does. The Buffalo Bills have a great offense. They always have the past 3, 4 years. He kind of switched the philosophy. I feel like Dable would air it out a little bit more, whereas Joe Brady, he has more of a balanced attack. James Cook has been eating this year and last year as well. He likes to balance it. He has a very, balanced attack. They don't Josh Allen throws when he needs to, and, if they need him to take over the game, he can do it whenever he wants. However, they don't wanna overexert him. They come out with a very, everybody eats philosophy, which is like they don't just focus one person. A couple of years ago, they used to just force feed Diggs. However, they don't have that anymore. They have a bunch of different players that can contribute, like Kincaid. They have Shakir, Keon Coleman, and then James Cook in the passing and running game. So they like to really split the offense and distribute the ball to everyone. I think the Giants could benefit from that because last year their entire offensive plan was basically force feeding Malik. So I think they could, this would really benefit them, especially because you have something good in Wandale. We got to see what they do in the offseason. But when he gets the opportunity, he can put up numbers. As you can tell this year, I think he's eighth in receiving yards this year. So he can really do some damage if you effectively feed him the ball. You have Theo Johnson. He is a weapon, although he's weird. Sometimes he plays really well, and then other times he can't catch the ball. So I think overall, Joe Brady is a pretty strong candidate, and I think he's one of the top guys that would potentially become the next head coach of the Giants. Next guy we're getting into would be Klint Kubiak. This is also another big one. A lot of people are speculating this. He's the offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks. Now, the Seahawks have been I'd say, a surprise. I mean, I thought they'd be pretty good. However, they're like a top 5 offense in the league. Darnold looks amazing. Jackson Smith and Jigbo leads the league in receiving yards, and overall, their offense has been great. Now, with that, he's also kind of balanced like Joe Brady, where he's not just going to air it out every play. They do have a run oriented offense with outside zone. They have Kenneth Walker running outside. And then once they get towards the red zone, they have Charbonnet come in. He vultures all the touchdowns. I'm sure if any of you have Kenneth Walker in fantasy, you know what I'm talking about. So they have a split running back system, which is good because the Giants have Scatterboo and Tracy, who I both think are pretty good. Scatterboo could be that inside running, tough yards guy, third down back, and red zone guy, whereas Tracy can be more of the between the 20s type of guy with the outside zone and even screen passes. Tyler Tracy's pretty good at catching the football. And with this offense, they run the run first kind of, which is good, but then they pair it with play action, which would be pretty good because if the other team thinks you're going to run the ball, you fake it with the play action. The middle linebackers come up a little bit, and then you should have someone open down the field. They run a little bit more of heavy personnel, which is 2 tight end sets. The Giants do have Theo Johnson and Daniel Bellinger, so that could work. They're both pretty solid tight ends, but they would need to improve their blocking, I'd say. I think Bellinger's a bit of a better blocker than Theo Johnson. And then Kubiak also implements the quick passing game. That's where JSN has really done his damage this year, is in the middle of the field. They do have like field stretchers there in Seattle, like uh, Rashid Shaheed, who had a kick return touchdown yesterday, actually. But they mostly focus on attacking the middle of the field, which Dart has been doing pretty well this season. He does throw it to Wandale a lot in the middle of the field. He really can fit it in tight windows, which is one of the reasons Dart is pretty promising. So that's why Kubiak would be a great candidate for the Giants. You need an offensive mind, I think, because the Giants have Dart. He has shown promise, and you want him to continue to develop. Now, I could also see the argument for a defensive coordinated minded coach. That we'll get into that next. But the Giants' defense has been horrible this year. They're 30th in the NFL. There's 32 teams, so they've been playing terrible. So they have a weird situation where they could go OC to develop the quarterback and get the offense on track. However, at the same time, you could argue the defense is more important because they've been doing absolutely horrible this year, and they have a lot of pieces on defense. I mean, you got Carter, you got Kayvon, you got Dexter Lawrence, you got Brian Burns. They tried improving the secondary this year with Paulson Adebo, Javon Holland. They have Cordell Flott. Banks hasn't looked good, but they have him and Drew Phillips, who also hasn't looked very good. But they have the pieces. They just need someone to put everything together. Now, the next guy I'm going to talk about is, let's see. We'll go Lou Anarumo. He's the defensive coordinator of the Colts. Now, this comes back to the decision they have to make if they want to go OC or DC minded coach. With Lou Anarumo, the Colts have looked great again this year. Their defense has been pretty good. I got to look up their exact stats on PFF, but with his defense, he mixes it up a lot, which is nice. Like he disguises his blitzes. He does a lot of stunts. Now, this would be a breath of fresh air for the Giants because with Shane Bowen as DC, they would typically just line all the players up and they just straight pass rush and see who got there first. It was not working. The Giants haven't gotten that many sacks. I mean, Burns has, but other than that, the guys up front haven't been winning. I think they need a bit more of like stunts and disguise coverages. And with Anarumo, he likes to mix and match. He creates favorable matchups for the linemen. He'll put, let's say, Burns on the left tackle when he's struggling, or Burns on the right tackle when he's struggling. He creates uh, like advantageous matchups for your defense, which is kind of important because the league definitely favors offense a bit more now with all the pass interference calls and all the calls that can go on the defense. It's a lot easier to be efficient on offense as opposed to defense. So Anarumo could be a potential fit as well. Next guy would be the defensive coordinator of the Rams, Chris Shula. Um, the Rams defense has looked great. They're they base their defense. They run a lot of dime, which is 6 DB packages. The Giants do need improvement on corners and stuff, so that could be something they could address in the draft or free agency. They like to use a lot of hybrid personnel, so they have a lot of players moving around. They like a lot of versatile players. The Giants do have some versatility, like Abdul Carter could potentially play outside linebacker instead of pass rushing. I do think he should be more on the line because he does look good. Generates a lot of pressure. He just doesn't get the sacks. So that could potentially be a role he could fit in, I guess, outside linebacker if you wanted to. And Shula, just overall, the Rams, anyone on the Rams looks good right now because the Rams are just one of the top teams in the league. I personally think they might be Super Bowl favorites. I know they lost to the Panthers last week, but the Rams look good offensively and defensively. I think Sean McVay is a great coach, but Shula could be a potential fit. And then the last guy we're going to go into is Mike LaFleur. Let me pull him up. So, where is he? So he's the Rams offensive coordinator. There we go. With LaFleur, the Rams have one of the best offenses in the league. I guess you could argue that maybe their offense is doing so good because they have so many weapons. They have Puka, they have Kyron Williams, they have Devontae Adams. Stafford's still playing great. Their offensive line is good. So I guess you could argue that it could potentially just be that their offense in general has a lot of talent. However, I do think LaFleur runs a very good system. He runs more of like a Shanahan style system. So they run a lot of outside zone with Kyron Williams. And then they default on play action, which is similar to Kubiak. That's kind of where the way the modern NFL, I think, is moving. They like to run a lot of outside zone and then play action off of that because the defense really struggles to see if they're running play action. It's either they're going to hand it off and you got to drop and you got to get to the running back as fast as possible, or if they fake it, you got to drop back in coverage. And the NFL, you make one false step and you give up a long touchdown. So it's really hard to like counter play action. You have to really call up a great system. And Lafleur also runs a lot of motion. The Rams are always in motion. They use a lot of outside runs, motion shifts, jet sweeps, and motion's pretty good for an offense because if your corner is following the wide receiver and you put them in motion, you know they're in man coverage. That could help out Dart potentially next year if they do end up going with Lafleur. I do think they should run a very motion centric offense because all the really good teams do it, and it does expose what type of defense the opposing defense is playing. And with Lafleur, they run a lot of RPOs and play action. RPOs could be really good for Jackson Dart because he is an efficient runner. He's pretty fast. He's athletic. He needs to slide. We all know that, but uh, the defensive end has to pick one guy. He has to pick the running back or the quarterback, and then Dart could read him and either yank it from the running back and run, or just hand it off if the defensive end picks the quarterback. So RPOs could be really good. That's what Daniel Jones was really successful with the Giants when he was on the team. And I think Dart should bring that back to potentially help the Giants become a efficient offense again. Now, those are the top five guys. Like I said before, the Giants are in a weird situation where I don't know if you should go offense or defense because you can argue both sides. It's going to be tough to see. We need to see if the Giants still stick with Joe Shane as general manager because if the head coach says they want a different GM, they might end up firing Joe Shane. He's still we don't know what's going to happen with him. Overall, the Giants are in a really tricky spot. I mean, they do have the number one overall pick, so they have some options in the draft. And depending on who they hire, might change up the entire free agency class. If they go more of a defensive coordinated guy, they might get more defensive minded or defensive players. If they go an OC minded coach, they might go more offensively minded players. I think the top guys, I think they should really go for. I think Clint Kubiak's the number one guy. Joe Brady's probably number two, although am a little nervous because of Brian Dable. He was the last Bills offensive coordinator, and we all know how that ended up. So I think those two and defensive coordinator, I kind of think Chris Shula is the way to go. He's a more modern defensive minded coach, and I think that's what the Giants kind of needed. Uh, Shane Bowen, I feel like was more old school, and the defense really struggled this year. So everyone comment down below. I know there's some like college head coaches that are potential candidates as well. I don't really get into that because I don't know who's going to actually attempt to become a head coach from college or not. So comment down below what college coaches you think would be great fit for the Giants. And yep, thanks for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, and remember, bet the over.